Thank you, Dr. Wynn, for that powerful prayer. We also have other special dignitaries who've joined us. Some have joined us since we started the program. I see we have the State President of the NAACP, Mr. Dale Charles. Would you stand and be recognized? Chairman of the Martin Luther King Commission, Attorney John Walker. Is your co-chair here? Is your co-chair here? We certainly want to recognize them. I see the President Pro Tem of the Arkansas Senate, Bob Johnson. Please stand up and be recognized. I think there's a few who just walked in, but we are certainly blessed in Arkansas to have some of the best people, not only in these United States, but in the world. But in particular, we have the best ministers, pastors, and preachers of anywhere. And I want all of them to stand and be recognized at this time. All of our ministers, pastors, and preachers, please stand up and be recognized. Thank you so much. This is a wonderful occasion, the actual birthday of a man who gave his life so that we can have the right to enjoy the privileges that we have today. But this particular birthday and the particular celebration on Monday has a special meaning than it has in years past. Because as we go into this celebratory weekend, there's a lot of special things happening and taking place. But we must be mindful of the fact that everything that we celebrate over the next couple of days has a serious and profound meaning. And we must make sure that the person we're honoring on Monday with our federal holiday is not diminished in any way or overshadowed in any way by the celebration we're going to have on Tuesday when we inaugurate the next President of the United States. And we must continue to keep in mind and especially communicate to our young people that it is because of the sacrifices made by all of those individuals, in particular the sacrifices that were made by the person we're going to honor on Monday. If it were not for those sacrifices of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., then Tuesday would be just the day after the King holiday. So let us not forget that. And especially to my colleagues, on whatever level you serve, and I see city council members here, quorum court members are here, and members of the legislature. What an awesome responsibility we have as public servants. And let me, before I take my seat, just close by saying that I have continued to be reminded by a meeting I had years ago when I was with the Martin Luther King Jr. Commission, and the late Coretta Scott King would call us to Atlanta, Georgia, to the King Center. And we would meet and we would discuss and we would plan out the national King holiday. This particular meeting was the first time I saw her after I ran and fortunate enough to win public office and serve in the House of Representatives. And on this particular day, I was fortunate enough to sit right next to her. I was so nervous I couldn't hardly eat. And I can remember everybody had their plates and everybody was eating except for Mrs. King. And then I soon found out that the reason she wasn't eating the same time with the rest of us is because they had to make sure that her food was safe for her to consume. That's the type of life she lived after Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated. But I can remember, and she treated us all like we were her children. I can remember she told me, she said, "Young man, I heard you decide to get involved in politics." And I told her, "Yes, ma'am. And I'm fortunate that the people voted me into office. But I realized that Dr. King never ran for public office." And she looked at me in that motherly way. She said, "Baby, Martin didn't run for public office because he couldn't. But everything he did during his struggles was so that you and others, including the next president of the United States, could seek and win public office." Thank you very much.
And now we would ask that you all stand for the Negro National Anthem, led by Mr. Ed Deshaun Scarborough.
Good morning. At this time, as the opportunity presents itself, I would like to say that it is a pleasure to serve as the Executive Director of the Arkansas Martin Luther King Jr. Commission, under the leadership of our governor of this great state of Arkansas, Governor Mike Beebe. Please join us in the Negro National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing.
When I was 15 years old, my world was turned upside down thanks to a young lawyer in the audience today and some other folks. I've never had a chance to thank John Walker publicly for what he did to my life. Thank you, John. But what happened was I was one of those kids that was one of those in-betweeners because somebody had to do it, who'd gone to an all-black school all these years, and suddenly things changed because a young man, another young man named Dr. Martin Luther King, was out there stirring the pot and so forth. It was incredibly and sometimes indescribably difficult, John, to be in that position for which you had fought so hard. But one of the persons and one of the sustaining things that happened to me was that Dr. King was on the scene. And he was a man who unshackled his conscience, a model I try to follow today, to unshackle my conscience to do what is the right thing to do. But it was his writings, it was his teaching that helped me to understand that he was standing in the gap so I could do what I needed to do. It is my pleasure today to introduce a man who is standing in the gap with a conscience unshackled, a man who's determined to do what is right for the state of Arkansas, for all the people, all the time. For he is not the governor for some of the people. He's the governor for all the people, and he demonstrates that. Dr. King did not spend a great deal of time in jail because he was being a good guy. He spent that time in jail because he knew that even some laws were so unjust that an unshackled conscience would dictate to you, you must do the right thing. So will you please help me welcome to the podium our governor who represents what this button that I wear most of the time. It's a mosaic for all people. And what it reminds me of every day is that I am an elected official for all the people, all the time, not selected people. a governor who embodies that, Governor Mike Beebe. Please welcome him.